risk reward game, that would be the game I would look at.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and take that and move it right into our fantasy talk. Because the guy I got this week, I'm only going to be doing DraftKings this week, and me and Christian discussed it before the show. We're so late into the fantasy season, unless somebody gets hurt, it's hard to find waiver wire pickups. And as far as matchups go, I think you guys know the matchups by now. It's the worst defenses. You want to go against them. And at this point, most everybody's fantasy teams are locked up. You're not getting any more. Our trade deadline just passed, so unless you're picking up waiver wires, you're not picking up anything anymore. But the guy I got that's good for DraftKings right now, and he's cheap, is Jeff Driscoll. He's only $5,500 for the salary. I think he could have a big game against Washington. Another guy I got is Derrick Carr. He's $6,100, but we're going against the Jets secondary. It's one of the worst secondaries in the league. I think he's going to have a big game, probably 3 to 4 touchdowns. The other guy I got, this is an Oakland stack, is Hunter Renfrow. He's at $4,500. For some reason, he just seems to keep doing good, but I think he's about to have that breakout game. He hasn't had that breakout game yet, but I think he's about to have it. As far as tight ends go, I got 2 tight ends for you right now that are below average salary tight ends. One of them has been consistent all year in Greg Olsen. He's just kind of been a consistent teen back or a teen fantasy guy. He's going to get you in the teens every week, and he's only $4,100. The other guy who's been having a good up and up recently is Noah Fant for the Denver Broncos. It looks like that new quarterback actually really likes finding Fant, and he's only $3,900 right now. So these are the guys that you can go for the low side to get you somebody better on the other ends. One other thing I want to talk about is the Falcons defense. It's only $3,500 right now. And as I stated earlier in the show, and I'll state it again, 55-12 in their last 2 games. There's something going on with that Falcons defense. They're still playing. That's the defense I would take if you're trying to get a cheap one. What do you got for us, Christian?
I like the Browns defense this week against Miami. And
okay.
I also like the Nick Chubb for Miami too. I think that those guys, when you look at that game right there, I think those two would be good. I think that would be a low bet. Chubb will probably cost you a little bit, but you could stack him with Kareem Hunt if you want to do a stack on running back for the same team, because I think those both guys are going to go off for the Cleveland Browns. I'm also really huge on almost any receiver for the Atlanta Falcons this week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think the Falcons are going to continue to shine. They're going to move to 4-7, beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you could stack him with Matt Ryan with some of the lower end receivers. For the Atlanta Falcons, you don't have to go for Julio Jones in this one. I think Calvin Ridley would be great, and I think that you could even go even lower. I feel like they're 3rd or 4th receivers. And a tight end, in my opinion, I like Vance McDonald for the Pittsburgh Steelers against the Cincinnati Bengals. I think Vance McDonald's a low bet and a good value pick moving forward. I think that's really where I sit. I think that's a really great pick. And if you want to pay for a high-end player this week, I'd go for Lamar Jackson against the Rams. And now that might be a showdown pick, so you might have to move on from that because it's Monday night. It won't be a Sunday game. So if you had to pick another high bet quarterback, I know it might sound crazy, but not a lot of people might not take it because who they're playing. But go for Dak Prescott. He's been amazing. He has the most yards for a quarterback, and although he's playing New England's defense, I wouldn't be surprised if he puts some numbers up and exposes that defense. I think Dallas is going to play a great game, and I wouldn't be scared to put Dak Prescott in the lineup.
Absolutely. All right. Anything else you want to say before we go ahead and cut off this week's episode of Tough Talk?
No, that's it. Good to see you, and looking for you next week. I'm definitely gonna bring some heat for that Trubisky argument next week. I'm ready for it.
I definitely want to hear your argument for Trubisky. We'll probably talk about that before we even start the show off next week. We'll probably be discussing that because that may take us 10-15 minutes to talk about that just by itself. But yep. All right, guys, I think that's going to be it for this week's episode. So we'll see you guys next week.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to the Tough Talk Podcast. Be sure to tune in every Friday as we break down all the major sports topics for the week. Don't forget to subscribe and follow on Twitter at Tough Talk Pod.